In the top stories, students in quarantine asked to return to school for end-of-quarantine tests. Grenada to pilot vaccination IDs, and Moderna applies for full FDA approval. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of June, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, students in primary and secondary schools who are self-quarantined are being asked to return to the schools later this week for their second COVID-19 tests in order to be released from quarantine if the tests return a negative result. This was announced by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws at the National Emergency Operations Center briefing on Tuesday.
On the holiday weekend, the students, they received their first test, along with the teachers at the Sandy Point Primary School. Now, the end of their quarantine period is fast approaching, and so the Ministry of Health will be coming back or going back to the Sandy Point Primary School on Thursday, June the 3rd at 9 a.m. to retest the students in grade 1 and grade 2 along with all the teachers. So once these tests return, if the tests return negative, then the students and the teachers will be officially released from quarantine.
Dr. Laws said the public health team will be visiting the Seventh-day Adventist Primary School on Wednesday at 4 p.m. There will also be visits to the Charles E. Mills, the Sandy Point Primary School on Thursday at 2:30 p.m., on Friday, the Washington Archibald High at 7 a.m. and the Basse-Terre High School at midday at the Tyrrell Williams Primary School on Saturday at 10 a.m. to conduct COVID-19 tests. Dr. Laws added that the self-quarantine period requires 2 COVID-19 tests, one at the beginning and one at the end of the quarantine period. She said if the second test returns a negative result, that individual will be officially discharged from quarantine. The police and the Customs and Excise Department have charged the man who entered the Federation on May 11 at Limekiln Bay for several offenses. According to a police statement, 27-year-old David Smith of Buckley's was arrested following his release from quarantine last week after testing negative for COVID-19. The police charged Smith on May 28 for entering a port that is not recognized as an appropriate port of entry, and on May 31 for entering the Federation without permission of the Ministry of National Security. He was charged by the Customs and Excise Department on May 30 for failing to file a declaration with a proper officer, arriving in the Federation in a vessel at a place other than a notified place by a customs officer, failure to report directly to a customs or police officer upon arrival into the Federation, and failure to produce a certificate of clearance. He has been remanded to Her Majesty's prison. Officials from the Ministry of Tourism will be featured on the government radio and TV program Working for You later today. The special guests will be Alistair Williams, Executive Director of the Tourism Events Unit, Kenny Manning, Sustainable Tourism Coordinator, and Tessa Perkins, Country Coordinator. The discussion will focus on the purpose of sustainable tourism, especially in relation to COVID-19 recovery and what the Ministry of Tourism is doing to promote sustainable tourism. Restaurant Week will also be highlighted, and the latest updates with respect to the Sustainable Destination Council will also be discussed. Working for You is broadcast live every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. on ZIZ Radio and other participating radio stations. The program is also streamed live on the SKNIS Facebook and YouTube pages. We now move to news on the regional scene. The Grenadian government is introducing identification cards for fully vaccinated people and is rolling out a pilot this week, according to Health Minister Steele. GBN News reports.
Grenadians who are fully vaccinated will soon be able to attend events at the National Stadium and other venues to watch football and cricket matches freely without the use of masks. In addition, those fully vaccinated will soon have an identification card in addition to their vaccination card to be used for entering events or travel. Minister for Health Nicholas Steele made the announcement on Tuesday.
We are looking at a pilot late this week, between today and the end of the week, to launch a pilot where we would have a picture ID vaccination card for those who choose to get one. It is not mandatory, but it really will facilitate individuals who want to go to fully vaccinated events. So the pilot will start later on this week. When we are ready for that, we will make that announcement. So members of the public who are fully vaccinated can come forward to the designated location to receive a picture vaccination ID that will allow them or aid in them being able to get access to fully vaccinated events, as well as it will aid in the traveling should they need to prove wherever they're going to that they're fully vaccinated.
Minister Steele explains that there are measures in place for vaccination verification for persons who may try to forge vaccination cards.
There will be additional verification that we have, because we have a database of all persons who have been vaccinated, just in case somebody attempts to forge a vaccination card. And we are also looking at, and hopefully within the next day or two, to be able to roll out additional forms of vaccine verification.
These new measures are being rolled out as Grenada prepares to host the T20 cricket matches scheduled for June 26th between West Indies and South Africa. 5 T20s are expected to be played at the National Stadium.
For the events coming up, because all those who will be entering are fully vaccinated and therefore not at risk, therefore individuals would be expected to be able to move around freely, and quite likely, if they so chose, not to wear the mask. We still recommend that you do, because you're only going to be in that event for a couple of hours, so that is why it is still recommended. But individuals at those events can feel safe that they are among other persons, or all other persons around them are fully vaccinated.
For GBN News, I am Rena Pear-Thomas reporting.
A pre-dawn fire has destroyed a supermarket in Antigua and Barbuda, and one employee is unaccounted for. The probe into the cause of the blaze is in the early stages, but investigators have pointed to red flags. ABS's Terry Andrews reports.
The excavator working its way through the collapsed roof of the building, which once was the supermarket. The charred remains of the building were still smoldering several hours later. One Chinese national is unaccounted for. They refer to him as Alex. Manager of XPZ David says there have been efforts to contact him, but calls and messages went unanswered. Sometime after 5 a.m., he exited their WhatsApp group.
Nobody knows what happened. And we don't want to guess the bad way. Or the whole team, the Chinese team, is all united. And we never get a problem between us. We never get a problem. I try to call him, can go through, and I try to message him and don't know answer. So we hope he's still out.
David says XPZ employs 59 people in total, and job losses remain at the forefront of his mind.
Employees in here is so sad, because we are going to lose the job, and we don't have nothing to care my family. Local people, we are handling about 50, and the night of the Chinese people.
He says a meeting will be held with all employees at the earliest opportunity to discuss the way forward. When asked the estimated cost of the damage, this was David's reply.
I can't give you exactly, but everything I guess about 10 million.
Terry Andrew, ABS News.
Internationally, with more than 168 million people receiving at least one dose of a vaccine, including 60% of everyone 12 years and older, Moderna has applied for full approval from the FDA in a bid to get even more persons vaccinated. ABC News reports.
Tonight, in a major move that could boost vaccine confidence, Moderna becoming the second vaccine maker after Pfizer to formally ask the FDA for full approval of its vaccine. A new poll says about a third of unvaccinated adults would be more likely to get a shot if the vaccine was fully FDA approved. Over the weekend, a massive push to get more shots into arms.
I was not going to get it, but since it was close to my home, I decided to come out.
The Memorial Day weekend launching the country on its comeback from the coronavirus.
It feels great. It's just the whole human contact and being able to be around people.
Air travel shattering pandemic records, crowds turning out at parades, parks, and beaches. Once the epicenter of the virus, New York City reporting no COVID deaths today and its lowest positivity rate ever.
Vaccinations equal freedom. It's as simple as that.
But around 450 COVID deaths on average are still reported every day, more than the number of Americans lost to stroke daily. And experts fear states with the lowest vaccination rates could see an uptick in cases.
Last year, right around this time, we saw a big surge in cases in the South. This year, the problem is there's still a lot of people unvaccinated in many of the southern states. So that's what we got to work on.
The World Health Organization has approved CoronaVac, the COVID-19 vaccine from China's Sinovac Biotech, for emergency use. It joins China's Sinopharm on the WHO list of approved vaccines. Tony Waterman of CGTN News reports.
The backing from the WHO means there will be another option available in the fight against COVID-19, particularly in developing countries where vaccines remain scarce. Many of these countries do not have their own regulatory bodies, so they take their cues from the WHO on which vaccines are safe to use. The approval also clears the way for Sinovac to join the COVAX facility, the global program to bring vaccines to mainly low-income countries. That program is facing a severe supply crunch at the moment and is expected to be 200 million doses short by the end of June. Sinovac and Sinopharm, the other Chinese vaccine approved in May, could help ease some of the bottlenecks. Both can be stored at normal refrigerator temperature, so it makes them prime candidates for use in underdeveloped countries or in remote areas. This backing from the WHO, though, is also a vote of confidence in Chinese vaccines, which had faced questions over efficacy both at home and abroad.
Today, I'm happy to announce that the Sinovac CoronaVac vaccine has been given WHO emergency use listing after being found to be safe, effective, and quality assured following 2 doses of the inactivated vaccine. It's now crucial to get these life-saving tools to the people that need them quickly.
The WHO is recommending Sinovac for adults 18 years and older, and while it noted there was limited data on the vaccine effectiveness in people over 60, it said there was no reason to believe that the shot would be any less effective. According to the WHO, the vaccine prevented symptomatic disease in 51% of those vaccinated and prevented severe COVID and hospitalization in 100% of the studied population. Sinovac is now the second non-Western vaccine approved for use behind China's Sinopharm, but it may not be the last. CanSino Biologics, another Chinese producer, has submitted clinical trial data to the WHO, but that review has not yet been scheduled. Tony Waterman, CGTN, Brussels.
And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy with a moderate breeze of 14 miles per hour from the east. The temperature is 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 3 to 5 feet. The weather forecast in St. Kitts and Nevis for today says to expect partly sunny skies with a 40% or moderate chance of showers, and for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 50% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:42 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:36 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.